Hello, in this tutorial we will show you how to edit the front page of your website. Upon logging in and being greeted with your dashboard, we will use our mouse cursor to locate pages, and from the drop down we will select all pages. Next we can either search for the front page in the search bar, or we can scroll through the list until we locate it. As you can see, we have located it, and it is titled the front page. Hovering over it, we have additional options to edit, quick edit, trash, view, or edit with Elementor. Please note that we will select Edit with Elementor, as this is the page builder that we are currently using. Next, we will allow the page to load fully before we continue. As you can see, the page is loaded, and before we begin, I would like to show you the SEO on the page, or, in other words, the search engine optimization. The SEO is very important, as this is what Google will use to index your site within Google's search results. As you can see, we have a focus keyword, and that is the name of the website, Ethulo Creative. By selecting it, we can see that there are additional options below. We have our basic options, which tells us all the ways that we can improve in our score. We have additional title readability and content readability. If we were having any errors with this, it will be shown and it will tell us how to fix it. Now that we have covered the SEO, we will simply navigate back to our default and we will begin. By using our mouse cursor, we can navigate across the site and we'll see that certain sections are highlighted in borders. We will start with the main element being the section. As you can see, the section is highlighted by a thin blue border, and by selecting the Edit button, which is the 6 dots at the top, we can edit the section. Here, a new window will appear on the left, and we are taken to Layout, where we can choose to stretch the section, change the content width, from full width to boxed, and so forth. We can choose the column gap, the height, vertical alignment, and the overflow. In the structure, we can currently see that we have 2 columns set in this structure. We will cover columns in the next step. Now, moving on to the styling section, here we can change the background. As you can see, we have it set to normal, and the classic color of this pink. For the time being, I will copy this, and you can see that we can change this color, and that the color will happen live. However, you will note that the section is still pink, and that is due to we have a background color set to that color. However, you can see that at the edges, the color has changed to what we wish. We can simply choose the color we wish, and we will see the results happen live. I will set that back to default, and we will continue. Next, we can choose to add an image. By selecting Select Image, a new window will appear, and by default, we are taken to the media library. Here we can choose an image we wish to upload, or we can choose to upload a new image from our desktop. For the time being, we will simply select one already loaded, and we will select Insert Media. As you can see, it has inserted the image at the back, however, we still have this color that is hiding most of the image. When inserting an image, we have additional options. We can change the positioning of the image, the attachment settings, the repeat settings, as well as the size. I will now set that back to default, and we can continue. By selecting hover, we can choose the background type for a hover effect. In this case, I will simply make it black, and as you can see, it has not changed because we are not hovering over the section. Once we move our mouse, we will see that the color will change. We will now set that back to default, and we will continue. Next, in our background overlay, we can do the same. We can choose a normal effect or a hover effect. We will simply choose our background type, we will choose our color, and we can choose the transparency strength. The same can be done for an image, where we will simply insert the image, and then we can change the strength of the transparency as seen here. I will set that back to default, and we will continue. Next, in our border section, here we have the option to add a normal border or a hover border. We will simply choose our style, choose our width, choose our color, and we will see that the border has effect. Next, we will do the hover, and it is the same as the background overlay and hover effects. We'll simply choose the type. We will choose our width. In this case, I'll make it very large so we can see, and we'll make the color a blue. As you can see, we only have the red border, but once we hover over it, it will change to the big blue border that we have just inserted. I will now set that back to default, and we will continue. Next, in our shape divider, we have the option to add one at the top or the bottom of the section. Simply by choosing our type, we can select our color, and then we can customize it further. As you can see, the background overlay is hidden, but we can bring it to the front at the touch of a button. We will now set that back to default, and the same can be done for the bottom section. We will simply choose our type, our color, and we will see that the changes will happen live. I will set that back to default, and in our typography section, you do not need to worry about this, as we have already set it up for you. Lastly, in the Advanced tab, we have our margin and our padding. As you can see, we currently have our padding set to 50 on the right. That would be this gap you see here. If I was to remove the 50 on the right, we can see that the wording has been pushed all the way to the right. We will reset that back to 50, and we will continue. Our motion effects, responsiveness, attributes, and custom CSS, you need not worry about, as this is already set up for you. Now that we have covered the section, we will move on to the next element, being a column. As you can see, this section currently has 2 columns and is indicated by the thin dotted black border. We will simply select the Edit Column button, and the options on the left will appear. Here we can choose the column width, vertical alignment, horizontal alignment, widget spacing, and the HTML tag. In the Style section, here we can choose to change the background. As we did before, we can change the background overlay and the border as covered in our previous step. However, please note that when we are editing the column, that these changes will only affect that section that we are editing. As you can see here, the border is applied only to this column and not to the rest of anything else. I will set that back to default, and we will continue. Again, our typography, we will leave this as it is already set up for you. In our Advanced section, we have our margin and padding, which we can leave for this section. Now that we have edited a column, we will show you how to edit an actual widget. Widgets are indicated by thin blue borders, as seen here. For this tutorial, I will show you how to edit this image. We will select the Edit option, and on the left-hand side, we can see the window appear. Here we can choose Image, and you can see we currently have that image selected, but we can change it if we wish be. By simply selecting a new image, we will see the image will change. I will now set that back to what it was, and we will continue. Next, we can change the image size, alignment, add a caption, and add a link. In the styling section, we can choose to change the width of the image, as well as the max width of the image. Setting that back to default, and we will continue. We can also change the transparency of the image, as seen here. We can also add a border, as well as change the border radius. In our Advanced section, again, we have our margin and padding, which you need not really worry about. You will notice when you need to edit the Advanced section. Moving on, we currently have 3 widgets on the right-hand column. We have a heading, we have a text editor, and as you can see here, we have a button. Here you can see that that blue border is acting odd. That means that we have edited the margin and the padding. We will simply select the Edit, and as you can see, the window on the left will appear. Here you can see all the default options, as well as the styling options. Moving on to Advanced, here you can see that we currently have set our margin at the top to -40 and our padding on the right to 10. If I was to take the padding on the right out, you can see that the button is now not sitting nicely with the text above it. I'll set that back to 10, and we can see that it is now in line. As you can see for the margin at the top of -40, if I was to remove that, we end up with a big gap between these. I will now set that back to -40, and we will see that it has come close together. That is how we would edit the front page. We will simply use our mouse cursor to navigate to whichever element we wish to edit, and we will select the Edit button, and we will edit that section on the left-hand side. Once we're happy with all the changes made, we will simply select Update at the bottom left and save the changes. That is how you would edit the front page of your website.